Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host. Joining you today, as always, is Mr. MAGA Jesse. How you doing there, buddy?
Oh yeah, I'm doing well. I've had a bit of a crazy weekend. We'll get into all of that, but of course, the Ethics Committee is meeting today for Senator Nicole Mitchell. It's about time they finally have to address this. We're going to be breaking it down, giving you guys some live analysis of how that's all going down, and getting into the story of what happened this weekend between myself and the beloved Congressman RINO Tom Emmer. So we'll get right into that.
Yeah, the Senate right now is on the floor. Dawson, do you have the live link for the Minnesota Senate floor? Maybe that's what we need to do. We had you ready to go to the Ethics Committee, but of course the senators are talking. They're opining. They're debating a bill. Not that one. Let's pull up a different window and let's go to
it's that one right there in the corner.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Ethics.
Let's go ahead and listen in on this.
I didn't want to bang the gavel because I want to be respectful, but respect starts on the floor with all of us. Members, you know what the rules are, that you're not supposed to interrupt another member unless you come with a point of order and you cite the rule, and even if you stand, you have to wait in order to be recognized. Now, I recognize that you want to do something very political at this moment, but this is not the place in order for that to happen.
No, it's too loud.
Now, members, I'm going to say this kindly to all of us. This is a sacred floor. This is an opportunity for us to uphold the tradition of this body with all respect. So no matter who's
I wonder who interrupted. What's going on
standing here or sitting out there, I would hope that we would be respectful of this institution. Now, unless you have a point of order and you can cite a rule, I would hope that we could go on and finish the Rasmussen A2 amendment. Senator Johnson,
thank you.
Do you have a point of order?
I do. I would like to make a motion.
Well, there's a motion before the body already, unless you're doing a amendment to the amendment or something of that nature. But you cannot bring another motion or another form of business to the body at this time. Senator Johnson.
Mr. President, I am bringing a higher ordered motion. It's a motion to recess.
Well, that is a non-debatable motion according to the rule. If you look at Rule 28.
What's going on here is the Democrats literally are
asking for a roll call?
hearing a bill
Mr. President,
when the
no,
Ethics
what
Committee
I
is supposed to
am
be
saying
meeting.
is I move for recess until 15 minutes after the subcommittee on ethics adjourns.
Senator Westland.
I request a roll call, Mr. President.
Roll call requested, roll call granted.
So Dems are not going to try to have this
It's
meeting.
a non-debatable motion. Members, please vote.
Okay, so here's what's going on. The Ethics Committee that's supposed to be hearing from Senator Mitchell, or hearing about Senator Mitchell, which Democrats are already going to screw this up because they want to bring up Glenn Grunhagen. So that's supposed to be meeting at 1 o'clock. That's why we're bringing you live coverage. We noticed, and we were watching right before we came on air, the Senate is still on the House, or still on the Senate floor. That'd be weird if they're in the House floor. They're still on the Senate floor. They're hearing a bill on natural resources right now. Now let's see. Do we have any Democrats voting for this? See, essentially, the Democrats right now can try to kill this Ethics Committee being done.
Well, Hochschild, Hoffman, they're not going with it.
Right here. So they're going to kill
Kupek.
this. And so they're going to basically continue on a Senate floor session when there was a 1 o'clock Ethics Committee on Senator Mitchell already scheduled.
Say the last one again, Senator.
Senator Frantz votes no.
Senator Frantz votes no.
Where did he go? He was there.
Yeah, he was there earlier.
I'm waiting for Senator Jasinski.
So right now they have the votes if Mitchell.
Right.
So Mitchell's going to be the deciding vote.
Right.
And there was nobody. So Lucero, Anderson, and Pratt should be voting. So watch this. Mitchell's going to kill this so she doesn't have to have her own ethics committee. Isn't this interesting?
Right, and Mitchell's obviously at the Capitol, so she's not going to have someone probably reading her vote for her. So this will be very interesting. And yeah, if she's the last one to vote, I mean, couldn't make it more obvious what's going on here.
I got word from the Senate floor that Mitchell looks like death right now. All right, so Mitchell, is she going to cast the deciding vote? We need Anderson and Pratt.
Well, I think she will if Pratt and Anderson get on there.
Do you want to come on set? Yeah. All right, here we go.
Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7, if we don't get them soon, then we're going to move forward.
I mean, seriously, Republicans, get your shit in order here. You should be voting.
Mm-hmm.
But if they
We
vote,
have one person
Mitchell
to call.
is going to be the deciding vote more than likely. She's waiting till the last minute because she doesn't want to have to be the deciding vote here.
Right.
So where's Pratt? Where's Anderson? You guys got something else going on today?
Yeah, but I'm seeing we got Tucker in the comments, we got Mickey Murray, we got Carol Hexam, and failed candidate saying kangaroo court.
Yep.
Senator Anderson votes aye.
Senator Anderson votes aye.
Pratt's voted.
And Anderson.
So
All
33-33.
members haven't voted who desired to vote. The
I just-
secretary will close the
I just
roll.
realized
If
Mitchell doesn't have to vote, right?
33,
Doesn't
Yeah.
pass.
the motion
Right.
does not prevail.
So now
Members,
they're
let
going to
me
go
also
back
be clear
to
about something because
debating
I
an
do not
amendment.
want this to
Mhm.
be the way that we do business.
Right, we might not see this ethics committee hearing today. You know, they said that they had these 4 bills on the floor. They might try to push it all through.
Very clear
hold on.
that ethics meeting has been scheduled, and after we finish our business here, we meet 15 minutes after. That's been noticed, that's been put forward, that's been out there. So for anyone to come on the floor and behave that way, I would like for you to know that that's really disappointing. Now,
Well,
as soon as we get through our
we totally
business,
missed what that
which
is.
we will
I know.
swiftly through,
It-
if you're really that
I think
interested
it
in going
was Mark
over
Johnson.
to the Minnesota Senate building, we are too. It's been scheduled. Now, look how much time that we wasted on this.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Senator Jaskowski,
I would just like, thank-
I'm sorry. For what purpose do you rise?
point
of order, he
Point
said.
of parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
Which rule would you like for me to give you
It's
advice
just
on?
a general question about who controls the process in the body. Is it the body that controls the process, or is it the president that controls the process, Mr. President? That's the question.
Well, Senator, which rule are you asking me to refer to?
All of them.
I am asking about the rules of procedure and decorum in this body. Is it up to the body to determine whether we recess or not, whether we postpone indefinitely or not, whether we adjourn or not, whether we do any other motion or not, whether we vote yay or nay and pass a bill or not, or is that up to the president? Because that's not what I understand.
Some people are saying they can't hear this, Dawson, in the comments.
Question, Senator, and so I'm going to answer your question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I don't know if it's about the sound. I'm just saying that people are saying they can't hear it, so I'm
An
not sure what
option
it
of
is on
putting
your
forth
side.
motions and asking questions, and that is exactly what was done. The motion that was put forward was rejected. And specifically to your question, if you look at Rule 14, because I understand that you're a parliamentary person, so I'm sure that you had an opportunity to look at 14.3. The president shall preserve order and decorum, may speak on points of order in preference to members, and shall also decide all questions of order subject to an appeal to the Senate by a member. What I've tried to do is to make sure that this body has an opportunity to flow. So if you have a motion, you put it forward and we vote on it. Now, it's my understanding that we wanted to get through our business so that we could go do other things. But look how much time that we are still spending on what I would consider distractions.
It is, Mr. President, but I want us to be clear going forward. If I want to make a motion to recess now, I have the right and am entitled to that ability as a member to do it. Senator Johnson was entitled to do that.
We are not going to argue on the floor because once you stand for a motion, if it's debatable, then we debate it. If it's not debatable, as soon as Senator Johnson asks for a motion, there's a way that you stand to interrupt a member, which you know if you've been reading Masons. You cannot just interrupt a member because you want to. There's a proper way to interrupt a member.
I understand and agree with that, Mr. President, but it's also the member's right to move a motion. And that's not what I heard in your description. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, if you didn't hear that, I'm saying it again. Every member has a right to raise a motion, and we entertain that motion. There's a proper way to interrupt a member that must adhere to the body and the rules of this institution. So with that being said, unless there's another motion, Senator Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Back to the A2. I would recommend a no vote. There is a needs assessment in the bill, so it is redundant. Thank you.
Let's just mute it for now, Dawson. I think that's probably easier than turning it down. So essentially what you're watching here, and if we could put it in the corner, we're watching the Democrats just run the time out for a committee hearing that's supposed to happen on ethics. And even if it happened right now, and we got a ground reporter, we got the wonderful Liberty Longbeard on the ground for us, who's going to let us know what's going on. It sounds like it's a pretty packed room, although our reporter hasn't communicated in the last 20 minutes, according to this. What are you eating, chicken wings, Tushi? What's going on? We need a report, I'm going to write. But anyhow, if you want to join our conversation anytime, hit the comment section. And if you want to interrupt us, all Rumble Rants go to the Chicken Wings Fund today. Chicken Wings Fund for our ground reporter, Mr. Liberty Longbeard. Running the dials, as always, Mr. Deep State himself. Dawson, how you doing there, buddy? You doesn't have his mic.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Do we not have your new mic stand?
The piece that was supposed to get here today, 2 hours ago, hasn't shown up yet. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Fancy.
I see. Jesse, would you do me a favor? Will you take that TV and just move it a tad bit this way so I can kind of watch the small screen? Sorry about that. We also couldn't do this show without our sponsors, Alpine Cabinetry and East St. Cloud. Warren Wessel of Warren Wessel Realty. If you're buying a home or selling a home, give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. More about our other sponsors a little later in the program. What's that? This should be on the amendment. So this is Rasmussen's amendment. Now, after this is done, I assume they're going to make another motion to recess. Now, are the Democrats going to vote against that motion? They're supposed to have an ethics committee 13 minutes ago, which actually means they should have adjourned 30 minutes ago.
It is a little confusing, though. I mean, I would just think that you're not allowed to make a motion to recess in the middle of a question, which was in the middle of this amendment, right?
Which is kind of dumb because it's the Republicans making the amendments. So why don't you guys get your shit in order and not put all these amendments to this bill right now? But it's also the Democrats that decided we're going to try to push forward with this large bill with a bunch of amendments. What do we got? We're coming to the end of this vote. So let's go ahead and go back to the audio and let's listen to see if they'll actually adjourn. Let's get some audio here.
$5 Rumble Rant from Tucker91. He says, I can see it now. Tushi wearing a nice suit full of buffalo sauce stains and buffalo sauce all over his face and beard.
There we go. We got $5 for
That'd
the
be a good idea.
Liberty Longbeard
Senator Friends votes no.
Chicken
Senator
Wings
Friends
Fund.
votes no. Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes aye.
Senator Anderson votes aye. All members having voted who desires to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 33 ayes and
Can you get out a full
34
screen, Dawson,
noes,
so
the
we can see the
A2
vote?
Rasmussen amendment is not adopted.
Okay, let's see if they
Senator
make a
Rasmussen,
motion.
I believe you have another amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to offer the A3.
Senator Rasmussen offers the A3 amendment. The secretary will report the A3 amendment.
Senator Rasmussen moves to amend House File Number 3911 as amended pursuant to Rule 45
Put it
as
on mute.
follows. Page 77, line 24.
I mean, what they're doing now is we're going to listen to HF 3911, which, by the way, And
Well, it shows Rasmussen and Johnson aren't on the same page because Johnson wants to end this thing and Rasmussen wants to, he wants to push his amendments.
Or it's all a big fucking show. Could be that, right?
Right. Well, Carol Hexham's asking, what is the A3 amendment?
Who cares?
Right. If you go on Google and you look up Minnesota Senate floor amendments, it will take you right to a page on the Senate Minnesota website. You can find all of the amendments there. So if you just look up Minnesota Senate floor amendments, you will find the page to find.
It's about watercraft and component parts. That's what it's about. After line 26, insert our packaging for watercraft and its component parts. Define United States Code Title 12, Section 1301, subsection 28, or a seaplane.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
That's more important than Nicole Mitchell, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, my God. So, I mean, listen, we're going to be here. We're going to be talking. We're going to get into CD6 here too, right? It's going to be good stuff. It's unconscionable that we can't actually have this is government. We can't actually have the ethics committee when you told people it was going to happen. But of course the Democrats don't want this thing. And then once the ethics committee meets, most likely they're going to waste time with Glenn Gruenhagen. Maybe I should specify what I mean by that. Glenn Gruenhagen, a year ago, had an ethics complaint because he was sharing what was described as, what do you call it?
Pornographic.
Obscene.
They were calling it that. But they were calling it that.
Yeah, obscene images of minors' genitalia.
Which honestly,
because it was about the bill about hacking up kids' genitalia. So they're going to want to bring that a year later. They're going to bring that up. Oh, we couldn't find the time to have an ethics committee until a year later.
The thing is, I'm not like defending Glenn Gruenhagen. That was an idiot move. Who wants to send pictures of children transgender genitals? No, thank you. You know what I mean? It's
is it like surgical pictures? Is it like showing like?
It sounds disgusting, is what it is.
It does sound disgusting.
So I mean, Glenn
showing what's going on. Don't you think that makes sense?
I don't need to see it.
It's a weird one.
So he doesn't need to send that crap out.
But you're not voting for it. That's the thing. He's sending it to Democrats who are about to vote to legalize it.
I think he sent it to everybody. Yeah.
Well, you never know how someone's going to vote until it comes down to it, right? Remember, we couldn't have a couple senators.
No, I'm just saying there's
senators couldn't be bothered to be there voting that day. Remember that?
Right. Well, I'm just saying there's a lot better ways of making your argument than sending naked images. Maybe it's just me. I just think that that's a terrible way of going about it, and Glenn Gruenhagen made a fool of himself by doing that. Not that I think that he should be kicked out of the Senate or anything. I just think that we should look at him and say, that guy's an idiot. Why would he do something that gross and stupid?
Okay. Well, once again, not about that. They're purposely trying to bring this up.
And what's funny is they should have dealt with this over a year ago. Like you said, if it was an issue, May Quaid made it an issue. She filed the ethics committee report against him. They should have dealt with it then. We shouldn't be dealing with it now when Nicole Mitchell is obviously the only relevant thing going on in the Senate.
Well, you got Tucker 91. He makes a good point. Maybe people didn't believe the Holocaust till they saw the photos and videos. It is a valid question, right? Do you show something that they're about to vote on? All right. We got time to kill. Guys, we got time to kill. Because let's just say they, in this debate after this, they vote on this bill, which, by the way, the bill is going to come back after a conference committee. And so they're really just voting to move the process forward. It's kind of moot here. So, and I can't even see how many amendments are. There's still at least one more amendment. Well, we are in A3. Let's see here. Are we past the amendment now? Or are we still speaking on the amendment?
No, but it's still on the amendment.
Is it saying that
Yeah,
anymore?
it says it on the bottom
it's off
right.
my screen. Okay. So I guess we're still on the A3 amendment. So anyhow, yeah, the fastest this happened is they're done with this. They're done with this amendment. Then they go on to debate the bill, and then when they're done debating the bill, they vote on the bill, and then someone's got to make a motion to recess. So there you go. The Democrats are literally trying to tie this whole thing up. Here we go. This is the amendment. And I guess it really doesn't matter. It really matters what comes after this. So Truth Seeker says, let's talk about CD6. Once again, all Rumble Rants today go to the Chicken Wings Fund from our ground reporter, Liberty Longbeard. How funny. He's just sending me these funny pictures. I don't know if there's a quick way to get to it. This was earlier. Oh, okay. I got a photo. I'm going to send this to you, Dawson. I'm going to just have to send it to you via Signal. This is an image of people outside the Hearing room. Of course, there's no urgency.
Mitchell voted on this amendment here. She voted against it, but she's voting on the floor.
Interesting. It just doesn't matter because it's an amendment by a Republican. They can't pass it if they don't get the majority, and they don't have the majority today, it seems like. Okay, let's talk about CD6. We got to kill some time because the best case is they shut this down, then it's 15 minutes till they get over there to the Senate Hall.
Right. Well, there is so much to talk about with CD6. I don't even know exactly where to start. Maybe we should start with the smear job that was done against me by so-called journalist Michael Broadcorp. So, Dawson, go ahead and let's pull up that link because for those of you who don't know, I attended the CD6 convention as a patriot who wanted to see some change in our country, who wanted to see the America First movement hit CD6, and I got kicked out along with a candidate who was running against Tom Emmer. He was the only one who had the balls to stand up to him in the entire district, and he was there, and he got screwed out of being able to speak. Go ahead and pull up that tweet because look at that. There's a picture of me on Michael Broadcorp's Twitter page. How about that? I was informed of that. I thought that's pretty interesting. Why would he want to go after me? What is he attacking me on? Well, he got that picture of me and the candidate Chris Corey, and Chris is a great guy. I've gotten to meet him through this time. He's a conservative who's just fed up with Tom Emmer. He stood up to Tom Emmer in his own BPOU meeting, and he's done a lot of good stuff. So, I was wondering, I wonder how he got that picture. Was there anyone there that was paid to take pictures at the event? Well, none other than Dustin Grage, never Trumper, anti-Trumper, who, all you got to do is look at his Twitter if people want to find that out for themselves. This guy is a devout never Trumper, so he shouldn't really even belong in the Republican Party. He has no place in it. And if he was paid to take pictures for CD6, if he was paid to take pictures for Tom Emmer, he should be more concerned about taking those pictures than mine because he should really be more concerned about paying his rent, considering that he's 7 months behind. He's being evicted out of his house. But what is he doing? He's taking the time to take a picture of me. Why? Because I am a threat to the establishment. And I don't give a rip that I pissed off a lot of people in that room. I'm not here to make friends. That is bullshit. It's not about friends. That's not what's going to save America. What's going to save America is standing up to these corrupt politicians and the corrupt people who keep them in there. The CD6 convention, it was corrupt. I'm going to stand by that all day, every day, because that's exactly what it was. And it's not just the liberals who are deciding to come after me on this one. We've got our very own Republicans in the state house who are deciding to do podcasts. Apparently I am the subject of their podcast. They can't come up with enough content on their own. So I'm happy that I was entertaining enough for them to say, hey, that CD6 stuff was pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and maybe talk about what Walter Hudson had done at that convention, because I know a lot of people like Walter, and I know he didn't mention me by name on his podcast, but I mean, people can check that out for themselves if they want to hear me get smeared. But he didn't mention me by name, but I'll mention him by name because I'm not afraid. He decided to speak at that convention against one of the motions to allow Chris Corey to be recognized from the floor. So the next time that you wonder, why was there nobody to run against Tom Emmer? Why was Tom Emmer unopposed at this convention? Why was there no conservative running? Well, guess what? You can thank Shane Mecklen and you can thank Walter Hudson, because they were both there to fight for Tom Emmer to receive that endorsement unanimously. It was BS. So just to tell you a little bit about this podcast so you don't have to, so you can save the time and not have to bore yourself to death listening to Shane Mecklen and Walter Hudson, because I mean, it was about me, and I still was like, this sucks. This is a terrible podcast. But Walter, he's doing a whole podcast on me and Chris Corey, but he couldn't remember Chris's name right off the bat. Okay, Mecklen then says, I don't know Chris. I've never met him before, but he was at my BPOU meeting, so he does know exactly who he is. And he said, he did have an issue with Tom Emmer. Well, guess what? I like that about Chris. I like that there's a patriot who stands up at his BPOU meeting, who's not afraid to confront a corrupt politician. Tom Emmer, he's the third most powerful guy in the House, but Chris Corey, just a random patriot, says, hell no, you're funding Ukraine. You're not putting America first. So when I hear that kind of stuff, I say I like that. And Mecklen says, that's not good. That's not the way that we should be doing things. Walter was giving me all kinds of insults. He said that, let's see here. He said Chris engaged incompetently with the nominations committee. I want to explain this very quickly. The nominations committee was corrupt. Okay, the nominations committee, several members of the nominations committee were in BPOU meetings saying, I'm running for delegate, please endorse me. I endorse Tom Emmer. The nominations committee was already in the pocket of Emmer before Chris had even announced. Chris knew this because he saw these people at his own BPOU saying, I endorse Tom Emmer. And he's supposed to think that those people are going to treat him fairly in a nominations committee report. Give me a break. We knew all along that he wasn't going to be treated fairly. So they decided to say, Chris Corey is unqualified and not going to be a recognized candidate at this convention. Why did they argue something like that? Well, they said it because they said he, number one, did not have an FEC filing. Number two, they said that he did not do a Zoom call with the nominations committee. And number three, a complete and utter lie. They claim that he said he couldn't raise the money. He vehemently denies that. He says he could raise the money. $10 Rumble Rant from K-Wall for life for the Wings Fund. Cheers.
Thanks,
Appreciate
K-Wall.
that. And Billy22 says, preach it, Jesse. I appreciate that as well. Because there was a lot of stuff that went down. So what happened? The rules, which I have the rules too, so if anybody wants to question me, we can pull it up for ourselves. The rules have nothing in there that says anything about unqualified candidates. That's a fact. So they can try to argue whatever they want. They can come up with imaginary rules. There was nothing in there that said anything about unqualified candidates. Number two, they said the FEC filing. Well, if that is a rule that you want, if you say that a candidate must be filed with the FEC before the endorsing convention, that's a rule that you should probably put inside of your Constitution or maybe inside of the convention rules. But guess what? There was no rule that said you had to be filed with the FEC. Number two, they said the same thing about him, that he did not do a Zoom call with them. Well, let me tell you about Chris Corey. He is not a tech-savvy guy. He's not a technological guy. He's not someone who's spending all of his time on the computer. So when he hears, I got to do a Zoom call, I've never done a Zoom call in my life. So he says, I know how to do a conference call. And they did a conference call with him, which it doesn't even have in the rules that the nominations committee is obligated to even do that. So a candidate isn't even required to meet with the nominating committee. So they can come up with all these things after the fact and say that this is what Chris wasn't following the rules. Chris followed every single rule, and it was the nominations committee that didn't follow the rules. So Walter Hudson can try to spin it and spin it and spin it, but he was the one who went up and fought for Chris Corey to be censored. Walter Hudson was the one who fought so that Tom Emmer would be unopposed and that nobody could challenge him. So we can think that he's a Liberty champion. I saw something else on Saturday. And let's see here. Around 10 minutes in is when they decided to start mentioning me. They say, and they misstate the amendment. Shane Meckland, of course, not that he's the most intelligent person in the world, but it's not like he was really even paying attention because he was misstating the amendments that were being proposed. He claims that we were trying to remove a section about unqualified candidates. Guess what, Meckland? There was no section about unqualified candidates. I read those damn rules 5-6 times. So for a guy who just got off the House floor wanting to pretend like he saw and knew everything that was going on, it's a joke. He didn't know anything. And let's see here. Shane Meckland also,
I don't think anyone knows who Shane Meckland is.
Nobody should.
State rep.
Right, exactly. He's irrelevant. But he actually had to correct himself at one point because I think he realized what he said. And then he said, no, I mean, I shouldn't say it like that. But he said, about me and about Chris, he said, you're undermining, he was saying what the problem was. You're undermining the establishment. So he slipped up and he told the truth for a second where he said that the real issue with what Chris and I were doing was that we were challenging the establishment. And we were undermining them. And that's true. We were proving that their convention was corrupt and rigged. And there were so many people, and Chris had so many people talking to him after saying, thank you so much for running. You got a spine of steel. I can't believe that you're willing to do that. And, all these people just making motions just to let him speak. I'm not saying that anyone had to vote for him. I'm not saying Walter Hudson had to vote for Chris Corey or nothing. I'm just saying let the guy speak. He did nothing wrong. He followed the rules. He met with the nominating committee. He did everything that was according to the rules. If they want to make up these imaginary rules after the fact, they can say that, but it doesn't mean anything. So I completely stand by the fact that I said the convention was corrupt. Shane Meckland then goes on to say that, I almost wish he could have spoke about Chris Corey. I almost wish he could have spoke so that he could go belly flop. Okay, Shane Meckland, that is Chris Corey's state representative. So he's got his own state representative talking smack about him on a podcast saying, I wish he would go up there so he would belly flop, and that way we could praise Tom Emmer even more. And so, Walter Hudson, and Shane Mecklin, they're both saying, oh, this has nothing to do with, this has absolutely nothing to do with Emmer, except for the fact that it was the endorsing convention for Emmer. That's exactly what it was about. So they can try to claim whatever they want after the fact. Walter said, that every seated delegate is a grassroots member, and I'm making a bad faith effort to mischaracterize delegates who don't want to go along with the coup. Okay, so he calls that a coup. Me trying to get a candidate to be nominated, that's a coup. What I consider to be the coup is to unanimously say that, oh, no. The real coup is that Emmer needs to run unopposed. The real coup is that an unelected nominations committee who was not elected by the delegates in any means, that they get to decide. No. Emmer needs to run unopposed. The nominations committee was even making it known at the convention. They were going up to the microphone. Why would we let someone come up here and speak for 15 minutes and trash Tom Emmer? Because that's what the endorsing convention's about. Because the delegates are the ones who should be able to decide and hear out the candidates. And guess what? If Walter Hudson had gone up to the microphone and said, let this guy speak, just hear him out. We don't have to vote for him. Just let him speak. The vote probably would have flipped. So Walter Hudson knew exactly what he was doing. He flipped it on them. He confused all these delegates. He made it try to sound like some parliamentary BS thing. He said, I didn't have any problem with the rule changes. Well, then why did you vote against every single one of them, Walter? So you can say all that after the fact. It's BS. Because Walter's clearly not concerned with the conflicts of interest with Bobby Benson. Bobby Benson is paid by Tom Emmer, and somehow he's the chair of the party. So we're supposed to think. CD6, right? He's the chair of the CD6 party.
You talk so much to like political types that you got to remember, not everyone's like following this stuff.
Right.
But Bobby Benson, a paid staffer with Emmer, is also the chair of Congressional District.
Right, and he nominated the nominations committee. So Bobby Benson, the one who's paid by Tom Emmer, the one who was chairing the convention, he was the one who was, calling us out of order. He was the one who told Chris Corey and I that we had to leave. It was a bunch of BS. And Walter, he said that I defamed the body. I never called the body corrupt. So he can take that one back, because what I said was that the convention was corrupt, and what I mean by that was that the nominations committee is corrupt and Bobby Benson is corrupt. And Bulbous Bobby Benson, that's his new nickname, Bulbous Bobby Benson. He looked like he was ready to cry when I called him out. 8 a.m., I was right in his face telling him, you give Chris campaign credentials. Who do you think you are to try to deny this to him? I know who you're paid by. I know you're paid by Emmer to do this, and you should just let him run. He's probably going to lose anyway. Just let him speak. Let him say his mind. Walter even said that I am developing a reputation that doesn't respect the grassroots. Do you think Walter should be saying that about me? Because I care a lot about the grassroots. I care so much about the grassroots that I helped a grassroots candidate try to challenge Tom Emmer. And, these guys try to say, Walter and Shane, they say, I've never heard of this guy. He's never been around to our BPOU meetings. Oh, so he's not in the club. Good. And guess what? That's not a part of the requirements either. And what's more grassroots than a candidate you've never heard of before? A candidate who's not well known at all. What's more grassroots than that? So they need to know for a fact that the nominations committee did not give him a fair shake. It was completely corrupt, and Broadcorp is saying that Taylor Rahm needs to disavow Action for Liberty because I yell about corruption. That's an interesting take. Walter Hudson seemed to say that Taylor Rahm is the right way of doing outsider politics. That's an interesting way of putting things. I'll phrase it like that. And Walter said what happened is, and then Walter tried to misclassify everything and misrepresent me, misrepresent Corey, and he doesn't have any of the details or the story. So for him to be making these claims is extremely rude. He said what happened was they went down a list, and then they got to Chris Corey, and then they called him up and said, you're going to prevail. This is a good thing. You're going to win, filling his head with lies, and that I was victimizing Chris Corey.
Who said this? Walter said this?
Walter Hudson said that I was victimizing Chris Corey. So Walter Hudson can shove it for all I'm concerned. Liberty champion no more, and I'm still waiting for that never again bill to hit the floor. Has he introduced it? Sure. Where's it been on the floor? I haven't seen it. Have you? Do you really think there's going to be a vote this session? I don't.
So, I guess, the way I look at this whole thing. But by the way, I love how they go, oh, Action for Liberty did it. It's like, what? Jesse does this stuff in his own time. Which, by the way,
I know,
Isn't
and
that great?
Action for Liberty people were telling me this is a waste of time, Jesse. Don't waste your time. This is just not worth it. But I said, I'm not letting Emmer go unopposed. Fuck that.
That globalist RINO,
yep.
Who's also leading the Trump campaign.
And yeah, for anyone who wants even more detail of what had happened, please go to actionforliberty.com. Read the article. It explains it all in detail.
Okay.
And that is an article that has not been refuted by Broadcorp, Hudson, Mecklen.
They
didn't even bring up the article in their podcast. Why would they not want to bring up the article that describes the event that they're talking about in the most detail from the perspective of the person that they want to talk smack about? Why would they not read it? Or if they didn't read it, why would they not talk about it?
The way I look at this, and thank you for all the comments coming in. Once again, Rumble Rants interrupt us. It goes right directly to our wing fund. We might have Tucci reporting from the ground since we still have time. The Senate's still in floor session right now. So we'll be here when the Ethics Committee does finally meet, unless it goes till 10 o'clock at night. I guess then we're not doing it, right? Can't do a live stream that long.
Right.
So the way I look at this, Jesse, is just like we just watched Senator Drazkowski on the Senate floor ask the President Bobby Joe Champion, Democrats, by the way, he's also chairing the Ethics Committee. He asked, who's in charge of this body? Is it the President or is it the body? Is it the body that makes the determination on what goes on in the legislature? It's a fair point, right? It's the body's decision. So you have these nominations committees that determine, and as you said, are corrupted by the fact that there are people that actually have already made their determination and endorsed Emmer. So it's not an impartial nominations committee.
Right.
And the nominations committee finds a candidate unqualified. Now, let me ask you this question. In the rules for running for office in Congressional District 6, did they find this candidate, Chris, to be in violation of any of the rules that are established?
No. And they didn't even make that point while they were arguing that on the floor. Even Bobby Benson, who was chairing the convention, they had no arguments to say that he violated any rules.
So they're arbitrarily making up things, right?
Yep.
To say a guy can't speak. And so I guess my question is, why can't we have competition, right? Like, what's wrong with having competition?
Right.
Emmer's probably going to win. This guy, by the way, he's not on their timeline, but this guy probably's got a life to live and can't run going back to last November, right?
Right.
So he's new.
He's not a politician. He's a
not
regular
politician.
guy.
So let him run. If he met the deadlines
Yep.
and he's following the rules, let the guy run. But they can't even do that. They got to, this is what really upsets me, is this just shows the uniparty is so corrupt. So, yeah, I don't know why Walter Hudson wants to take issue with you. Well, actually, I probably could guess why. But we could have Walter on. We could discuss this with Walter. I've known Walter for 10
I'd be
years.
happy to. I would be happy to discuss it with Walter
There you
because
go.
he can discuss it on his podcast with Mecklen, or he could discuss it with the person who he's talking about.
Well,
And I'm right here.
Well,
He knows
Walter,
where to
you can
find
come
me.
on. You can defend Emmer because that's what you're doing, basically, is you're defending Emmer. And that's the other thing that gets to me. It's like, and I think it was Brett, I don't know who actually put that up there, but somebody was talking about it's a convention, not a coronation.
Right.
Right? But that's how they treat it. So,
Right. He was failed candidate.
okay, got it. So I guess the thing that really bugs me here is Tom Emmer is a globalist elite. Globalist RINO. That's the terms from Trump himself, right? So Emmer is the reason we have all this debt because he's voting for these bills. Emmer has voted to give $61 billion. Well, just in the recent one, he's done it way before that. But $61 million of your money, robbing your kid's future, to give to this quagmire in Ukraine. That's Tom Emmer. And we can't allow some guy to compete for an endorsement against Tom Emmer? What are you afraid that 30% is going to vote for the other guy? Tom's still going to get endorsed, which, by the way, is problematic that he can still get endorsed. What's wrong with these people? And it's Congressional District 6. It's like it's a very solidly Republican
Right.
district.
Oh, and one more thing I would like to add as well. I'm not sure if I had said this or not, but Chris Corey wanted to get in contact with these delegates before the convention. He asked them when he was meeting with the nominating committee, he would like the email list of the delegates because Walter and Shane had said, well, we've never heard of this guy. He's supposed to reach out to us. That's his job. That's the work he's supposed to do. And I kind of agree, but it's a lot harder to do that when you don't have the email list. So how are you supposed to email everybody if you don't have the email list? I mean, so it's they make up these things these standards and requirements that don't exist in rules. and don't exist in reality because you can't email a list that you don't have.
I like how T-Wall says, what happened to Emmer? I mean, it's just the old tale. I mean, when you have a skill set, Walter is very much in this regard too. They have a skill set. You know, there are guys up at the Capitol that really don't have much of a skill set. Maybe one of them is doing a podcast with with Walter Hudson right now. Social skill set. I'm sorry. They might have skill sets outside that translate to other things in life, but when it comes to politics, Walter's very very articulate, very philosophically well-spoken, right? Emmer, very good salesman, very good gift to gab, you know, because I knew Emmer going back to 2010 era, right? Not very well, but I've known Emmer for a while. So they got a good skill set, but you know, if you don't have it like deep in here, okay, and what's deep in here, in my opinion, it's the principles of liberty, the real belief that the Constitution needs to be protected. When you don't have it in here, you'll sell out in a heartbeat. And that's definitely what Tom Emmer's done, right? He's used those skills. Those skills are recognized. You don't become the majority whip in the United States Congress if you don't have a skill set and you haven't completely sold to the corrupt establishment, right?
Right.
Which is like, Trump was right when he called them a globalist RINO, and then Trump put him in charge of his campaign in Minnesota, which is really interesting.
Right. And, you know, that's the thing. The Chris Corey campaign, we were able to put out a couple of flyers just to inform people of who Chris was. One of them was a comparison piece that said, you know, that Chris wanted America first and Tom wants Ukraine first, and just a comparison piece. And then also, just a reminder, we put out the Truth Social post where Trump called Tom Emmer a globalist RINO. That did get some of the delegates very upset, but it's like, it is what it is. And, you know, they may not be happy that that's what Trump said, but that's, you know, what Trump thinks of Tom Emmer. And I think that, you know, I think that Trump is probably viewing Tom Emmer as a guy to target 2 years from now. And I'm just telling Trump, I'm ready right now.
We got someone taking your task here, Jesse.
Oh, do we?
Cowboy Patriot 1776. I'm going to read it to be a neutral party.
Oh, okay.
They don't reference your article because if it's full of lies. The body voted 80% to not listen to the guys speak. Why aren't you for, quote, we the people in this instance when you claim to be all the time?
Okay, yeah, why don't I answer that? Because I think the Nominations Committee was the very first one who made this decision. The Nominations Committee did not have the right, within the rules that you apparently seem to love so much, the Nominations Committee did not have the authority to not allow him to speak. It wasn't until the convention where they decided that they weren't going to allow him to speak. There was nothing in the rules that said anything about unqualified candidates to begin with. So it's not that the body voted that way. It's that the Nominations Committee set that as the standard. And, you know, in most endorsing conventions, Jake, you can probably attest to this as well. Most of the time, they let unqualified candidates still speak. They would just say, our Nominations Committee report finds him to be unqualified. I wouldn't have minded if they just said he's unqualified, but he still gets to speak, because they could say, we don't think he's ready for prime time. They could make that argument. But they made the decision to force it to be a coronation of Emmer. So Cowboy Patriot 1776, if you were in support of that, if you wanted the coronation of Emmer, I'm glad you got what you want, but you're going to have a RINO congressman forever then.
I guess what I would ask you, Cowboy Patriot, is, and just assuming you're right, 80% did not want to listen to the guys
And
speak.
I'd like to hear which lies from the article. You know, if you're going to claim that I'm lying, go ahead and say which ones.
Well, here's my question. If it's 80% did not want to listen to a guy speak, but assume then 20% did, do you believe that the majority should shut down the voice of the minority?
Right, and
I think you should read the First Amendment to the
80%.
Constitution if that's what you believe.
They're saying 80%. I think Chris Corey more likely than that had 25 to 30%.
What if it's 51% and 49% want to listen to it? This is essentially what's being played out right now in politics, is that the majority wants to shut down the minority, and that's antithetical to our republic, right? Mm-hmm. The whole idea of a constitutional republic is that the rights of the minority don't get infringed upon. So, I mean, what is so harmful listening to someone speak? What is the purpose of an endorsing convention if it's not to actually hear voices? If your job is just to go there and rubber stamp the people that are already in office, well, then it's just a re-election racket for the establishment swamp. What good is that?
Yep. It's
like,
a scam.
What's the point in even? Why would you give up a Saturday? What's the point?
Right, and they didn't tell Chris that he was unqualified until the night before. It wasn't until the night before that they decided to hit him with that, and he says, no, I'm showing up anyway. So they can say that after the fact, but, you know, The night before was when they decided to try to hit him with that.
We'll come back to this story as we need more filler information. Reporting live from the Minnesota Senate, I guess the Senate building, waiting for the Ethics Committee is none other than Liberty Longbeard. How you doing there, buddy? Well, we got a little technical glitch here. By the way, all Rumble rants go to the Liberty Longbeard Wings Fund. Don't show children there. We want to see you, Liberty Longbeard. We want to see you. Did he close the Zoom? Is that what he used? We had a second. I think it showed like some kid like playing or either with a toy or had crayons. I don't know what he was. By the way, this reporting live, I knew he was gonna be there. I didn't know. I was like, hey, maybe you should have you reporting. We should do this. And Dawson, we might need to equip him with some better stuff. Come on, man. You know the thing. K-Wall for Life says. Love it. you know the thing. All right. Oh, my God. Leave it
Where are we at in the Senate then? Still another
they're
amendment?
Still,
or?
It doesn't, it shows amendment right now.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, this is politics, guys.
And failed candidate $5 Rumble rant. The unqualified tab is a candidate killer, and the reasons for not qualifying Chris are the biggest load of crap that a nom-com has ever came up with. Thank you very much, failed candidate. I completely agree.
Isn't it interesting that you get people preaching the rules after they don't even follow the rules? They make up something like I mean,
imaginary rules.
Well, first of all, this Chris guy seems like an awesome dude. Thank you for running, Chris. Awesome that you would do that. Take some guts. We got him back?
He's back, but he's got the same camera view.
Okay, well, Tushi, can you hear us right now? What's that? Can we get some video here? It looks like he's just listening to the chants. Do we have any video? There we go.
He's on now. Senator Mitchell. He's on now.
Okay.
All right, Tushi, we want to talk to you. Tushi, are you able to walk away so we could chat with you and go ahead and flip the screen around? This is our guy on the ground, show prep. I knew he was going to do it. Phil Kidd, it says show prep. Hey, what? Don't. Hey, can you hear us? Paul, can you hear me?
No, but I just heard you right then.
America. America.
I have to step out somewhere where I can hear you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We actually want to talk to you, but I do appreciate you showing us the protests that are going on in the Senate floor right now. The Senate is right now, I guess in some ways, filibustering because they were supposed to have an ethics committee hearing at 1 o'clock. First of all, Tushi, America. So tell us, what do you see going on at the Capitol? By the way, we're all Rumble rants go to your Wings Fund. We have raised $20 for your wings already.
All right, good. That's a good start.
So tell us, what do you see in here at the Senate?
So yeah, we arrived here, about 11 o'clock, maybe quarter after, something like that. And there were already people outside. Some people brought some miscellaneous Tupperware in honor of Senator Mitchell. But if we knew they were going to delay hours, we might have wished they had some snacks in that Tupperware. But I'm glad you wings waiting for me. So people had miscellaneous Tupperware and some other signs. Well, we got to the Senate building, and they said no signs in there. So I just saw Isaac Schultz's father-in-law around here. He's got a cool sign he's carrying around here.
Stay focused. Stay focused with me. Stay focused.
So they said, everybody get in line, and at 1 o'clock you'll get a ticket, and only 250 people can go in the room. So about maybe 20 till or something they gave us. They started giving tickets, and we got to go in the room.
So you were able to get one of those golden tickets?
Yes.
All right, good.
And it might say, well, it's supposed to be 1 o'clock, but it might be an hour or two later because they're trying to finish this bill. And so it was like really clear what was going on already. They were, they're going to try to, they published this thing at 1. People have been waiting for 2 weeks to see this finally discussed, right? Which of the 3 stories is true in this ethics committee hearing. So now if there people have been waiting for 2 weeks, they want blood, they want her head. They're all there at 1 o'clock, and they said, well, we might go at 2 or 3 or something. They're just trying to delay so that all these people that showed up and blocked off part of their day probably can't stay that long or whatever. So clearly it's just a tactic to not have it when they said they were going to have it, to get fewer people there, maybe get some of the media to go away. I don't know, but they do seem to be delaying.
Gotcha. How long do you have? Do you have all day, or you got something going on and you gotta?
I got all day.
All day. So at least the Truth Hurts media will be there.
Yep.
What are you seeing from other people on the Capitol press? Are you seeing the main affiliates over there?
I'm sorry, what am I seeing from who?
Are you seeing KSTP, WCCO, all the main affiliates over there as well?
So I didn't look at what letters they have, but yeah, there's some serious media in the hearing room, like with the cameras all set up for the 1 p.m. hearing. 5? All right, Channel 5 was in the hearing room, I guess. And there's just, I think, looks like print media here, because they all have like still cameras that are taking pictures of the protesters and stuff. And I'm assuming they can get short videos on it, but I think the television media is mostly over at the hearing room. And now that all these people made their way over to the Capitol, there's some media here, but they're probably like the newspapers.
Do we have a House candidate back there behind you? Did I see that?
House candidate.
Hey, there we go.
Drew Roach, how you doing?
What's that?
How you doing, Drew?
Good. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for coming out there today.
Oh, absolutely.
And
gotta fight the swamp.
That's right. Yes, and you're the endorsed candidate for well, I don't know the district off the top of my head, Farmington area, right?
58B.
58B. Gotcha. Most likely going to be a state rep here in a little under a year, because that's a pretty Republican district. You ready to drain some swamp up at the Capitol?
Yeah, big swamp at the Capitol. I mean, we've got the trifecta going hard right now, trying to delay tactics, and so a lot of people out here being outspoken, and I'm looking forward to getting in office and draining this bad boy and having some conservatism heard from District 58B.
Wow. Actually, it looks like Drew Roach might be the ultimate wings salesman. We just got a rumble ran in for
yeah, we did.
Liberty Longbeard's Wings Fund.
Yep. Love Minnesota $20 rumble ran. 100% support for Jesse. So
for Jesse.
It's for me. Yep. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Carol Hexum, $1 as well. You guys rock. Thank you for standing up for the grassroots and helping expose the corruption of the Republican Party. Time to clean house. The sewage is filthy. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Love Minnesota, and thank you, Carol.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Tushi, will you do me a favor? If you got some other big news or anything that you think is of interest, why don't you've got the link, you can come back on. We're going to be here. We're going to try to cover this ethics committee live, so I don't want to take up all your time. What are you showing us here? What is this?
He's got
Who?
Yeah, there it is. Let's see it. All right.
Let's see. Senator Mitchell, suitable for framing at the post office. There you go. That is a hell of a good sign there. I love it.
So that was the sign they wouldn't let him take into the hearing today. He had to leave it outside.
Gotcha.
But he came back over here.
Well, it seems like a lot of people showed up today, so it's good. Why don't you come back on if you got more things to report? I think we got $41 right now in your Wings Fund, by the way. All right. For some reason, I feel like he loses his he loses his signal once he gets over there, which is probably more interior into the Capitol building. All right, we'll bring Liberty Longbeard back if he comes on. This part of the episode is brought to you by our good friends at John Galt Mortgage Company. We were actually going to have Tim, the founder of John Galt Mortgage, on the show today. I told him, hey, why don't we bring you on Thursday instead of today, because We just don't control the schedule. And luckily we said that because, look, we don't control the dang schedule, as you can clearly see. We're trying to live stream and give you color commentary what's going on in the Capitol. But if you know anything about the book Atlas Shrugged, which we got on set, who is John Galt? Well, I'll tell you what, it's the best damn mortgage company you could possibly find out there. If you're going to buy a home, go give our good friends who believe the same thing as you and me a call, or, sorry, call. They probably don't have a call center. But let me give you their cell phone number. No, I'm just kidding. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. See, I'm off script. I should stay on script. This is what happens when you go off script. johngaltmortgage.com. Do me a favor. Also check them out on Facebook. Their social media is great. The company is run with these liberty, conservative ideas, and they aren't afraid to talk about it on social media. johngaltmortgage.com, or go check out John Galt Mortgage on Facebook. Should we chat a little bit more about CD6? Anything else you need to get off your chest on that one?
You know, I mean, go ahead and pull up that article, Dawson, that I have in there, just so people can see what we're talking about, and people can, find the article for themselves. There's not a whole lot in there. I would just want to maybe show people this flyer, just so people know that know who Chris Corey is, know that he was, where he stands on some of these issues, because it takes a lot of guts to take on the third most powerful congressman in the country.
That's true.
So I got a lot of respect for Chris, because nobody else in the district was willing to. So go ahead and scroll down there, Dawson, just a little bit until you see that flyer that's going to be on there. Yep, right there. So, basically it's a pretty simple thing where he's just letting people know that when it comes to this Ukrainian money, the Electoral College, a lot of people don't know, but Tom Emmer used to be a paid lobbyist for a national popular vote group. Chris Corey is very strong in the Constitution and the Electoral College, so he doesn't want to see any kind of change to that. He wants to see, each state be able to run their own Electoral College system, not be forced to abide by the will of California and New York. So he's also a very fiscal conservative guy. He wants to cut the spending. He's sick of seeing our debt continue to grow. So like it says right on there, vote America first. He gave voters that option. And unfortunately, the nominations committee rejected the ability for him to be able to speak. And it's disappointing, but, it showed that if you try to challenge the swamp, if you try to take on the system, it's rigged against you. This is a system that is rigged for Emmer and against the common person.
Well, and we detailed quite a bit of the rigging that was happening against Steve Boyd, who actually had a very developed campaign, had been campaigning since I think it was like October, November last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I would say to guys like Chris, try to get in earlier to account for this rigging that happens.
Right. And also, if you want to see the entire video of Chris and I, or it's not even a video, it's more audio than it is a video, but of the leaving the floor and getting kicked out and everything like that, you can find it within that article. Broadcorp decided to only clip it and just find a small little section. Walter Hudson also said that is proof that I don't respect the rules. Well, I figured that if the nominations committee and if Bobby Benson aren't going to follow the rules, why the hell should I? So, of course, I'm going to start yelling and saying that it's corrupt, because that's exactly what happened. And like I said, I'm not in this to make friends. That's irrelevant to me. I think that we need to save this country, and I don't think Tom Emmer's going to do it. So if I have the guts to stand up for it, and I knew I'd catch some flack for it, I didn't necessarily expect Walter Hudson to be the one giving me flack, but I knew I'd catch flack, and I was willing to stand up to it. So I keep my head held high. I got nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, that's the thing, and we got time to talk about this because, of course, the Senate's still debating this damn bill. Okay?
Right, they're still on the environment bill too. So I mean, they got two bills after this. I'm starting to wonder. It's going to be another hour or two.
I assume they're going to recess after this bill.
Oh, you think? Not with these Democrats.
The Senate doesn't vote that way.
Yeah, not with these Democrats. I don't think so. But I mean, you could be right.
But see, look at all these people talking about the Emmer convention. The Democrats are using the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to have an ethics committee, so we won't have an ethics committee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, but if 51% of the Senate doesn't want to have the ethics committee hearing right now, then we better not have the ethics committee hearing.
Exactly.
It's like, what are you afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
If she's fine, if she's innocent, then have the ethics committee. It's a pretty damn important thing. Last I checked, she lied to the police. She lied to the public. I guess this really upsets me, Jesse, because, like, I totally agree with what you're saying here.
Mm-hmm.
You're just trying to save the damn country. This is, how do I put this? I'm not I don't want it to sound like politics doesn't matter, because I think it matters a great deal when you're talking about this level. But my line of thinking when it comes to Washington, D.C., president and Congress at this point, it almost doesn't matter at this point. In fact, the argument for a guy like, that takes out a Tom Emmer is to be a vocal critic of what's going on in D.C. and try to organize and empower the states and the localities to face Washington, D.C. They are on such a collision course to fiscal ruins in Washington, D.C. And, first of all, do you guys agree with what I'm saying? Do you agree with that? Do you think it's worth you taking all this time and energy and focusing it on Washington, D.C. policy? Do you think you're going to make a difference, right? So, and it's a big game, and I keep bringing this up. It's like Donald Trump, light years better than Joe Biden, right? Now, let's not make any mistake about it. Much rather see Donald Trump get elected this year than Joe Biden. But Trump's playing the game too. He calls Tom Emmer a globalist RINO, and then at the same point, he has now got Tom Emmer running his campaign in Minnesota. A globalist RINO, which is an accurate statement, is running Trump's camp. How is that advancing liberty? How is that advancing America first when you get a guy that's putting us in our fiscal collapse position?
Well, it's all about money. And so what
Correct,
Trump,
but that's what I'm
Trump
saying
is looking at is he's saying who can raise the most money in Minnesota? Probably Tom Emmer. Tom Emmer is one of the people that can raise the most money out of Minnesota. So if Trump's looking at it purely from a money perspective and he's saying these RINOs are willing to help me, these RINOs are willing to give me millions of dollars, yeah, I'll take them on board.
But
because he needs their votes anyway.
Hold on, doesn't that mean that you're selling out, though?
I don't think by taking their money, no. I mean, if you're beholden to their money, then you're selling out. But if
you're using him now as part of your brand, which is the Trump campaign.
Right.
And
I mean,
it hurts.
we'll just have to see exactly how it's going to go down. I mean, I'm not giving the MNGOP any money, so I'm not going to be going to this Trump event. I'll probably be outside with a megaphone telling people what's really going on because I don't stand for, Tom Emmer and all that. Like I said, I think that Trump is just playing the long game. I think he understands, that he put out that tweet, the Truth Social post saying he's a globalist RINO. That means the Trump knows. And if Trump is saying that this guy who is going to undermine me, if Trump is willing to accept him for now, Trump is playing the long game. I don't agree with it right now, but he's playing the long game.
Yeah, and only to get stabbed in the back by a guy like Tom Emmer, because that's exactly what's going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And Truth Seeker says Trump has to play the game in Minnesota. Minnesota is so corrupt. And I guess that's a little bit true because, I mean, if you want to try to talk to the party, which, Trump has to deal with the Republican Party in Minnesota, you have to deal with David Hand and the corrupt people.
Well, no, you don't, actually. That's part of the problem I have is you don't. You absolutely don't. Mm-hmm. You could just go, you're Donald Trump, you're far more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to comments here.
Yep, KAC2, is Trump just using Emmer? That could.
No, that's your contention.
Right, that's what I would expect. Is that's how I would make sense of this thing. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Is I mean, Trump obviously needs money. He's got all these different cases coming after him. It's a bunch of BS. They're trying to take everything from him. So it doesn't shock me that he's looking to fundraise. And we talked about this before too. That the media is. Putting fake news out there saying that it's the same day as Barron Trump's graduation, which it is, but apparently the graduation, as you told me, was in the morning, and this event is going to take place at night, so they're trying to make it seem like he's stabbing his son in the back.
Total fake news.
Right. And let's see here. K-Wall for life, Trump knows the old proverb of keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And get Trump on your show, Jake and Jesse, never hurts to ask.
All right,
I wish, but, we'll try. We'll see what we can do. I'd love to have Trump on.
Read the, let's see, SCL.
Oh, I missed that. I have a hard time throwing an accused MN senator under the bus when the Republican presidential nominee is in the same boat.
Well, I'd like to, listen, this is something we should talk about. Okay, first of all, there's none of us throwing Senator Mitchell under the bus. I think she did a fine job herself, throwing her under the quote-unquote bus here, right?
Yeah.
Like, you went into the house. You broke into a house. Okay. Here's the big difference I see from the 4 indictments against Donald Trump and the current charges against Senator Mitchell. You can't possibly look at what's going on against Trump and say that's not political. There's just no way, right? It's not like they just happen to come across Trump doing something illegal. It's clearly done by the DOJ. It's done by very left-wing prosecutors in New York and in Atlanta, Georgia, who campaigned on this stuff. It's political. In fact, it's so political that even in polling, we know that Democrats recognize it's political, and they're still, a lot of them are still fine with it. I don't know anyone that's accusing this charge at Senator Mitchell as political. I don't know anyone. I don't think it's political that an old woman who was being victimized at 4:45 in the morning called the local PD. They showed up. A woman had run into the basement to hide, and they found her and arrested her, and she happens to be a state senator. I don't think that's political. It sounds like, I don't know, a felony violent crime. By the way, the statements from Senator Mitchell are that she was there for a welfare check, and that's completely false. Dawson, let's bring up the first graphic. Let's go back through the timeline on Senator Mitchell here. By the way, if we want to bring up a timeline on Donald Trump, it'd be really interesting to see how all this stuff was all positioned to impact the election. Yeah. Because he's got 4 trials in 1 year. Wow, that just happens to be not this one, the other one, Dawson. This is what she's a deciding vote on. This is the arrest timeline for Senator Mitchell. On April 22nd at 4:45, Senator Mitchell was arrested by Detroit Lake PD for first-degree burglary. The next day, Mitchell is officially charged with a felony and released from jail. She then posts her one and only public statement saying she was doing a welfare check in the morning. April 24th to 25th, Minnesota Senate scheduled changes to figure out what to do about Senator Mitchell. No public appearance. Yeah, the business of the Senate ceased to exist on that short week. By the way, it was Passover when that happened. April 29th, Senator Mitchell shows up on the Senate floor, votes against her own expulsion. Actually, it's the process of expulsion. And then the Democrats say she's removed from the DFL caucus. On May 1st, Democrats are caught lying about her actually not being removed from the caucus. And then May 2nd, KSTP breaks a story because, what's his name? Tom Hauser interviews Carol Mitchell, the victim, and she says that Senator Mitchell was in her home, in her bedroom, which basically has terrified her to this day, believing she wanted to cause her physical harm. To me, way different than what you're seeing against Donald Trump. And in many regards, I don't know how you prosecute Donald Trump. I mean, listen, if Donald Trump committed a violent act, let the evidence show itself. But when you're trying to say he made these hush payments with Stormy Daniels, who's literally on the stand today, probably still on the stand, a porn actress, like that's what we're going against, this leading candidate for president. It just seems way different. And if this was a political thing against Mitchell, I would say the same damn thing, right? It's
but I'm seeing SLJRL. I might have not said that right, but not disagreeing with the political aspect, but if it's good for the goose and we want her out, then it's good for the gander. So I think I understand the point that you're making, that there are a lot of unprincipled people who are jumping on board with this thing. So, I mean, there might be a certain aspect of what you're saying that's got some good merit.
No, I don't understand what you're saying here.
Right. Well, I'm saying that, there's unprincipled people who, for example, let's say the Democrats, for example, they're unprincipled in the fact that they want to take Trump out, and then they say,
that's correct, yeah.
Now due process. So, and I know that,
or
just
passing red flag gun laws in Minnesota, and then, right?
Yeah. So I'm just saying that I'm sure that we could probably find examples of unprincipled people on the Republican side.
Yeah, but what's the inconsistency? That's what I'm having trouble understanding right now. Like, what's the principle thing?
Right. They would say innocent until proven guilty, that she has to be proven in a court of law. I guess that would be the argument. But it's such a different situation because she's admitted guilt. It's in the police report. So it is a bit of a different situation than something that's a little more contentious and confusing.
All we're saying is you can't serve in the Senate, right? Like, okay, so I always come to this conclusion. Okay, why can't you serve in the Senate? Okay, let's assume there's some dignity left in the Senate. What do we got going on here?
And maybe they're done with amendments.
Let's go back to the Senate floor. Let's get some audio here real quick, Dustin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we want to move quickly. I just want to talk about how amazing this bill is. Thank you, Chair Herr and members of the committee for working on this. Critical Materials Recovery Task Force. This is really important for us to get the critical.
So it's such an amazing bill, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it looks like they're trying to wrap up on this bill. And then it's the big question, are they going to take a recess and we're going to get to this ethics committee? And if they don't, I don't know what we do. They say the show goes on, right? Okay, so why can't you be a senator? All right. Assuming there's some dignity and respect for this chamber, certainly don't find that on this show. But assuming you do, that's probably the big one, is you can't have a member. I mean, at this point, we know she was in the wrong, right? Can we at least admit she's in the wrong? She's in the wrong, especially because she was in the wrong and then she lied about it, acting as if she was holier than thou. I think we can say that unequivocally. Now, will she be... Do you throw her in jail right now for first-degree burglary? I don't know. Probably she goes and pleads for something less, okay? Okay, that's the due process part with the criminal justice system. But she went to a home, she terrorized a woman, she didn't belong, that she did not have a right to be there, and then lies to the public about it. Seems to be a big issue. But the thing that I came to the other day is, here's the bigger one. She's not talking to the public. You're a state senator. You're like a representative of the people. And you won't talk to the public. And what you say is, advise of counsel, you are not supposed to talk to the public. So by that very nature, how can you be a state senator? Because you have this wall of separation between you and your constituents. That's a huge issue.
Right.
Right?
I mean, her legislative aide has to just be going crazy right now with emails and stuff. Like, you know, I'm sure there's people nonstop emailing Senator Nicole Mitchell and calling the office, and it's got to be nonstop. I mean, it is probably not fun to be Nicole Mitchell's staffer right now.
Right. Why is Phil Can't say Tushy getting dragged out? What are we saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, he's got a solid base. Mary Casey, let's have a Trump rally. Chris, don't stop primarying Emmer. There you go. You know, if Chris watches this, innocent until proven guilty. She's not guilty at this point. She's accused only. Has to be adjudicated brute. We may judgments against her. Well, yes, of course, in the court of law. The point is, it's just like a teacher. It's like you don't throw a teacher in jail who's been accused of assault, but you don't put her in the classroom or put him back in the classroom. A cop that's been accused of assault or some heinous crime, you don't throw him in jail right away. You got due process, but you don't put him back on the beat. At some point, can we at least assume the Senate has some bit of standard? But I guess once again, I go back to the point of she can't do her job if she's not responding to the people. Like when they're literally not communicating with the public, well, that's a pretty big issue in my opinion.
Has she spoken on the Senate floor since?
Yeah, we played it all here live on Thursday.
Right,
she said no, thank you.
Right,
she
no,
wouldn't
thank you,
respond.
that's it.
She wouldn't yield to a question on the Senate floor.
And that's also proof that she can't do her job, because if she's not willing, if she can't make speeches in the Senate without, an underlying thing that everybody else is thinking about at all times, then she obviously can't effectively do her job. But I mean, to that point, most politicians don't effectively do their jobs anyway, but she in particular is in a unique position where, 90% of people think she's a criminal. The other 10% of people that don't are just lying to themselves.
Right.
So it's not going to be a good look for her or the Democrats. And, if they decide to just push it back throughout the entire session, this is what's going to be on the people's minds in 2024, that the Democrats just pulled some crazy crap. They waited until the end of session so that they could have the votes. And as long as that's known by the public, the people will see through it.
That's right. All right. Well, it looks like they're still having their closing arguments in terms of the bill, HF 3911, which is the Natural Resources Bill. I was watching some of the earlier amendments. Wiesenberg successfully got the bill amended so that you could take $200,000 in compost funding and redirecting that to studying predation of juvenile loons by bald eagles. So there you go.
Yeah, he also had an amendment to make it illegal to transfer beavers. So I'd have to ask Wiesenberg a little bit more about that. I'm not sure if I'm on board with illegalizing beaver transfers. But, you know, I guess it's true. I mean, he was saying they destroy the area wherever they go and people just drop them off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a problem. I'm sure he knows more about it than I do. You work for the DNR, so.
Tim for Liberty. Why would Trump endorse Emmer on Truth Social if he just wanted the money? And why would he put a Globalist RINO in charge of one of his state campaigns? Doesn't fit your narrative. Good question. Why would he do all this stuff? It's just for money.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it is for the money. I don't know why that would change anything just because he thinks he's a globalist RINO. Like I said, the money's still green. So if Trump's saying if these RINOs are willing to give me money for the America First movement, I'll take it. So is this the way that I would go about things if I was Trump? No, but I understand what he's doing. I'm just saying he's playing a different long game, and we won't know the results of it until it happens and until we see the impacts of it.
It's all 17D chess, right?
It could be.
Oh, man. All right. We got Justin Eichhorn, senator from Grand Rapids, who is the lead in the minority on this bill. So I assume once he's done speaking on this bill, which seems like the notes for him should be maybe you shouldn't speak so much because you're not going to change the damn vote on the Senate floor.
Yeah.
So maybe you should just shut up so we can get to this ethics committee. But once he's done speaking, you go back to the author of the bill, and then allegedly we get a vote. And then allegedly there's going to be a motion for a recess. And then allegedly 15 minutes later, we got an ethics committee where allegedly Glenn Gruenhagen's issue is going to be taken up first. Oh, Eve, why did we do this show today?
Mm-hmm.
We control nothing. We control nothing. I know you guys care about this ethics committee. So do the Minnesotans who took time off out of their day with Tucci, one being Drew Roach, candidate for, was it 58B? Is that right? Did I get that right?
I think that's what he said.
They take time out of their day. Okay, now we're going to go back to the author, I assume. I hope he's not.
Yeah, speaking of 58B, I actually, I won't say this too often, but I heard some really good points from Pat Garofalo. Pat Garofalo was out there saying, the reason that we lost WrestleMania was because of the Uber bills and because there was no stability of, whether people were going to be able to go around. And so the Minnesota Democrats are to blame for WrestleMania not coming to Minnesota, and that's something that I can never forgive them for. I was hearing the news that WrestleMania is coming to Minneapolis. It was going to be huge. I mean, of course, don't get your hopes up too high because, why would WrestleMania come to Minneapolis when we got all these problems going on? So it's disappointing, but you can thank the Democrats and the Uber bills for what's going on because otherwise we could have had WrestleMania and that would have been awesome.
All right, don't kill me on this, but WrestleMania is just like a big pay-per-view event. Is that?
Yeah, it's like their biggest one of the year. It's like the Super Bowl for WWE.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep, disappointing. Would have loved to have it here.
All right. Did you guys talk about the CD3 nomination, Tad June on 427? So Cindy Lou, no, we didn't talk much about it, but is there much to talk about? I mean, the Democrats endorsed Kelly Morrison.
Yep.
Looks like Kelly Morrison's likely to be, I don't know, go Tad Jude. If you pull that one off, that's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I guess I don't see Tad Jude as a guy that's like literally fundamentally changing the course of America, right? Like to me, it's like when you get guys. So my read on like Steve Boyd in CD7, there's a guy that literally would go out and change dynamics of the U.S. Congress. It's a sense I get. Some people that are just go along to get along people. By the way, I can get these wrong too, right? Sometimes these guys just go out there and they don't do a damn thing different. That's the argument against Fishbach. If you want to be honest, why challenge Fishbach? Because she's not challenging the establishment and the status quo in D.C. Generally a decent voting record, right? Although it's pretty easy to vote that way right now for her.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, are you really fundamentally changing the direction of D.C.? Once again, I guess I have very little faith in changing the system out in Washington, D.C. So quite frankly, before I get interested in somebody, well, that's why we have Royce White on this show.
Yeah.
I would say if that guy got out in the Senate, things would change.
Probably.
The guy's got a different approach to politics. He has a BLM protest and he marches them in front of the Federal Reserve. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's kind of a good move, right?
Yep, and it's so smart too because it channels this anti-authoritarian energy that these people had that they just were directing in the wrong areas. So to point towards the Federal Reserve, that's a great way to do it.
Well, can I get real for a second here? Like, I'm not doing this show. There's so much planning that goes into this show. It's a very difficult thing to do, okay? And the show's not big enough where it's like anyone's making any money on it. Luckily, we could pay the talent that comes on this show. Luckily, we can pay the studio back because, we got a great studio here. Look, it's Final Passage, and then we're going to go back to Senate floor. So it's like I'm not doing this show to just do this typical, let's bring on the next guy running because he got the Republican nomination. Bullshit. I don't care. Most of these guys are going to do absolutely nothing different out in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. But the people that might fundamentally change the direction of politics, because I think if you watch this show, you realize politics needs to fundamentally change, right? We're kind of going in the wrong direction. So that's the people that I'm going to put on this show, not just your well, I hear you're going to, what are you going to do for us out in Congress? And then it's just going to be the same old blabbing and same old talking points that they got spoon-fed. It looks like we got all Democrats voting for this thing here.
And some Republicans,
Housely, all Democrats, Housely, Hoffman,
No, there's
Coleman.
39 ayes.
Yeah.
40 ayes,
What,
yeah.
You're just going to ruin my joke here?
Oh, my bad.
Jeez.
My bad. I didn't see what you were going for. I get it now.
All right, let's get the audio back on here because now that they're voting on this natural resources bill.
No.
Senator Anderson votes no. All senators having voted who desires to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 40
right,
ayes
so will
and
motion be
27
made here?
noes. The
That's
bill
the
is
question.
passed and its title agreed to. Members, we're going to taxes. Oh, okay. We're going to House File 5247, Senator Rest for the omnibus tax bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm going to begin by just giving my thanks to
All right,
everyone
so
who
we're going to
contributed
Senator
to the,
and put me to rest
this year's
for a tax bill. You see what's going on here, folks? Democrats do not want to have an ethics committee today.
Yeah, and they got another bill after this. They're dragging it out for hours now.
So I guess the question is, will they recognize? I mean, I'm sure you're getting some buzz in the room, and let me get some inside information here. WTF? So this is real interesting. I mean, the typical person here in Minnesota is just like, hey, I want to take up my time and voice my opinion about a senator who's burglarized and victimized a poor elderly woman. Why is she voting on consequential legislation? Pull up the second graphic here, Dawson. And we're talking about like really key things here that Senator Mitchell is voting on. And she's the deciding vote on, by the way, the deciding vote on things like mandating transgender surgeries for minors in every health insurance policy in Minnesota, which is literally going to be in the commerce bill, the commerce omnibus bill, prohibiting law-abiding Minnesotans from having a useful self-defense firearm in their homes in case of home invasions or, get this, burglaries. Adding abortion up to the moment of birth in the Minnesota Constitution as a proposed ballot issue that's literally being decided. And billions of dollars in your surplus money going to more wasteful government projects. That's why people are going up to the Capitol to voice their opinion on a senator who literally, you can't imagine a more unethical thing than to go terrorize an elderly woman and then lie to the public, lie to her constituents about it. Why is she voting? And they're not going to have this ethics committee. Let's go back to the Senate floor here, Dawson, because we might have to end the live broadcast if we clearly have no understanding when this thing's going to be. I don't want to just fill the airways for the next 3 hours. Do you guys want me to do that? Do you want to just hear Jesse and I riff on a million things in politics? Because we could do that. And City Lou says in CD3 at least went 4 rounds of voting and all candidates spoke. Royce spoke at CD3. He was great. I'm hearing a lot of good things about Royce. A lot of people saying good things about the guy. Sure, he's definitely not.
Speaking more of Royce, we got DRJ58. Royce White got to speak at CD1 last Saturday. Personally, he was the best speaker. Too bad he only had 3 minutes. Worst speaker was Hahn.
Well, I suppose that makes sense. Can you imagine those two speaking back to back?
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay. Dems are going to push.
No, but,
all the bills
to
first.
Cindy Lou's point, I don't really know Tad Jude. I got to meet his son a little bit when he was running for Attorney General. I thought his son was a really cool guy. And, hopefully Tad Jude, he's got an interesting history as a judge and everything. Hopefully he makes it competitive. So, I don't have any bad will towards Tad Jude like I do towards Tom Emmer. So Tad Jude's all right in my book.
Gray Matters show, you're going to go right to my head. If you keep talking, we'll keep listening. I got to get some work done today. This isn't my job. I have to do some work. I mean, this is your job, Dawson. I guess you get away with it. You got any other candidates you're trying to help out run against the establishment, Jesse?
No, I'm
Okay,
a Chris
so you
Corey
got
guy.
time?
I'm a Chris Corey guy.
You got time? I don't really have time. I'm the host. But it is kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, what's going to happen, guys? And we'll wait till Senator Ann Put Me to Rest gets done speaking, if we're still awake. If maybe there's a motion. It seems like
even
Bobby,
the Democrats aren't listening, putting them in the background, laughing and talking with someone. They don't even care what she's
they
saying.
don't care, yeah. I'm guessing Bobby Joe Champion will not appreciate a motion to be made to recess. And so Democrats are going to push forward. And I would imagine, what did they go to? Like 3 a.m. last night, something like that? I certainly wasn't up watching it. I was watching the T-Wolves dominate in Denver. I mean, holy shit, the T-Wolves. They're up by like 32 points at one point. It was crazy. So, yeah, I mean, this could go hours, guys. I don't think it's worth us staying with it. And so that means the ethics committee will come back later tonight, unless they
push it off to
decide not
tomorrow.
to do that.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I could see that too. You know, Bobby Joe Champion is on that committee. He don't want to meet.
He don't want to meet.
You know, would we be shocked if Bobby Joe Champion pulls some tricks? No.
We got going on here. Speaking of the bias, let's go get some volume here again.
Members, please vote. We have to move expeditiously today. Thank you for your patience.
Was she really on? I didn't know she was on an amendment already. Oh my God.
I didn't notice either.
And you know, the thing about the Senate is they don't show
Senator
how many
Verbatim
minutes.
for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Dietzick votes aye.
Senator Dietzick votes aye.
And Senator Port votes aye.
Senator Port votes aye. Senator Jasinski, those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes aye.
Senator Anderson votes aye.
Tucker says, "Rant on, guys. I'll listen for 3 hours." And damn it, when we have an audience, I hate to sign off when we have an audience.
All members having voted who desired to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 65 ayes and 0 noes, the A33 Rest Amendment is adopted. Senator Rest, do you have any other amendments?
No.
Is it okay for me to go to the other amendments?
No, I want to speak about my bill.
Okay. Senator Rest.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last year, the poster child
All
of
right,
the
all right. I cannot listen to
2020.
Ann Put Me to Rest. Senator Ann Put Me to Rest from Old Hope. Not to be confused with New Hope, Minnesota. I don't have the page at Minnesota Senate Order of Business. There was like 4 bills last I remember, right?
Yep.
So we've got HF 3911, the natural resources already passed. Now we have the omnibus tax bill, HF 5247. Then we have HF 4109, name of competency attainment board modification, and HF 4247, health-related occupations licensing. Well, what kind of bill is that? That sounds scary. Sounds like it's full of bullshit. Well, let's just go fact check this one since we're in. Well, I don't know. We got a riff now. Let's see. HF 4247. Guest licensure. A non-resident of the state of Minnesota who is not seeking licensure in Minnesota and intends to practice in Minnesota must apply to the board for guest licensure. An applicant must apply for a guest license. So of what? Is this, I don't know, other professional activities? It is for health occupations? Oh, for guest licensure for marriage and family therapy. Why the government? Why does the state have to determine who is qualified for family therapy? It's beyond me. I don't know. Do you know?
Nope.
As long as they got that government permission ticket, good. You know, I need some sound advice about my marriage and my family. Can I see your government papers? So there you go. There's a great Democrat idea. You got to submit the required fee and complete the criminal background check. You know, this is for guest licensure. And I bet they got to pay money. Here we go. $150. Looks like they got to probably pay the same application fee. I'm just reading this on the fly because we're riffing. We're supposed to have an ethics committee. We're not going to have the ethics committee. Hey, by the way, since we're riffing, I haven't looked at this. Dawson, go pull up the committee. It's line G7. You press G8. And you'll see the committee. You'll see the two complaints. It's at the very bottom. Yeah, very bottom of that. See the rules committee. Okay. Those are the two complaints. You got the ethics complaint against Senator Glenn Gruenhagen, which I do believe they're going to go to that first. You see, that was from over a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking too. And think about how much time they might waste on that too, because it's Champion. You know, he's gonna draw that out too. And yeah, this is ridiculous what they're pulling here.
All right, and then we got an amended ethics complaint, and I haven't actually seen this. So let's go ahead. Let's click on that, Dawson.
Yeah, and Billy 22, the answer to your question, anybody know if there will be cross-seating at State Central or the State Convention? That is determined by your congressional district, so that will be the rules that you want to look up.
Senator Bobby Joe Champion, dear Mr. Chair, attached this letter is an amended complaint regarding the conduct of Senator Nicole Mitchell, and this is signed by Cal Barr, Rich Strahim, Draz, Green, Housley, Johnson, Coran, Liskey, Saro, Utke, and Wiesenberg. And then if we scroll down the third page, First Amendment complaint. It looks like it's going through the timeline. I wonder if this is updated. I wish I should have looked at this ahead of time. Wonder why they can't scan this thing in normally. They've got the actual, I'm just going way through this thing. You could scroll through it, Dawson, real quick. It's showing the actual police report. This is all the stuff that was supposed to be discussed today in the ethics committee, which at this point will probably happen at dinner time for you guys. Normal people have dinner. They got the 911 call in here. By the way, this is 166 pages, which is probably still shorter than the bill that they're debating right now. We got a release order. Okay, we got the release order. Exhibit D is her public statement on Facebook. Exhibit E, Star Tribune reporting. Okay, I can't go through all this stuff. This is ridiculous. By the way, it was going to be good because all the Republican complainants then also appear for the committee hearing. 166 pages. You can go to the Senate Ethics Committee. It's actually a subcommittee to look at this a little bit more. Yeah. Anyhow, I think we'll end it here, Jesse, to be honest with you, because we're just going to have to fill time. I don't feel this is right. I think go do something else with your day than listen to these bullshitters there on the Senate floor. The Ethics Committee is going to meet sometime roughly 15 minutes after they get off the Senate floor. They'll probably go to Glenn Gruenhagen's one first. You see how the Democrats have so much ways and processes now to filibuster this out so that this doesn't get heard. You know, it sounds like a tactic I've seen somewhere before where you just kind of run the clock out. Where have I seen that
Yeah,
before?
right.
I mean, clearly it's only a Democrat technique. Certainly that would never happen like with the Republican Party under David Hand,
Oh, yeah.
where you just run the
Yeah,
clock out.
I've never been to a state central committee that rings any bells like that. I've never been to
Nothing.
anything like that. I don't know what you're talking about. The Republicans doing that?
No,
But,
no, definitely not.
Yep, and also, I'm seeing Mickey Murray says state central is $75, $100 at the door, and the state convention is $150, $175 at the door. That's right. And you have Truth Seeker. I think you just got them mixed up there, but Mickey Murray has the correct information right there.
Thank you to all the people leaving Rumble rants and all your comments here. I think we raised $41 for wings, so we'll make sure that Tushy gets well fed because, God forbid he's not well fed. Thank you to Alpine Cabinetry in East St. Cloud, Warren Wessel of Warren Wessel Realty, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, which I always am because it's called the Truth Hurt Show. But if you're looking for a realtor you can trust, someone who also believes the same things you do, a guy that I know because he was my realtor. I say was because I'm not really buying or selling a home right now. But if you're buying or selling a home, go with Warren Wessel, and you can call Warren at 612-419-7453. I think William has no problem, but young William also just purchased a home. I didn't have permission to say this, but I don't care. I don't think William's going to care.
Probably not.
And Warren Wessel found him his home. You know who also financed it through? Can I say this? I don't know. Actually, it's might be fake news. Just kidding. John Galt Mortgage Company. You can go johngaltmortgage.com. Go see the good friends we have over there who believe the same things you and I do, and you got to check out their social media. We're going to have Tim, the founder, on the show on Thursday joining us, so that's going to be exciting. There's details about our secret meeting, our secret event. If you are a subscriber, you can learn about the secret event. We'll talk about that with you guys. Otherwise, we'll be back here on Thursday with probably a full breakdown of the Ethics Committee, allegedly the Ethics Committee that's going to happen. We'll be back on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Take care. God bless.